This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, good morning, Rabbi. So we continue with Sefer Rus, with the Parish of the Malbim. We began Parak Gimel last week, where Nami told her daughter-in-law that I am looking for manoyach, which is respite, referring to umitzena menucha, like we had in Parak Aleph. Shoivna v'noyisai umitzena menucha. So she says, Haloi avakish lach manoyach, I seek for you menucha, a shidduch, but also asher yitav lach, it should be a shidduch where you have what is truly good, and that is ruchnius. So we're up to Parak Gimel Pasuk Beis. V'yatah now. Haloi Boyaz moidatanu. Behold, Boyaz is Boyaz not, Rashi says, Kurevenu, our relative. Asher hayis es na'aroisav, that you are with his girls. Hinehu zoyra es bayran hasa'orim haloila. Hine, hine, behold, he will be winnowing in the threshing floor the barley haloila tonight. Says the Malbim pasuk beis. V'yata haloi Boyaz moidatan. What's a loimer? Ki hagoyren hoye b'soif hasada. Let's just get the layout. Let's get the map out of what the field looks like. You have a field, and in the field they do zoyra, they do winnowing, and then after they winnow, they go into the goyren, they go into the silo. That took place in the field. Sham yashav haruach. There the wind blows. Certainly that's where all the workers are. When she comes to the field, it's impossible that they won't see her. On this she says to her, if they see you in the field, not a problem. In other words, the Malbim is really bothered over here. Obviously, Rus is going to do something undercover. Obviously, Rus is going to do something secretive and clandestine. She's going to secretly be next to Boyaz in the evening. But how's she going to put herself into that situation? At what point is she going to sort of hide herself? Because there's no way in the world that people would let a young woman get near Boyaz in the night. So how's she going to pull this off? So basically, you have to know the layout of what's going on. You have the field, that's where the work is taking place. You have the threshing floor, you have the goyra and the silo. Boyaz is going to retire for the evening in the goyra. When everyone's working in the sadeh, but Rus could be there along with all the other workers without a problem.
The question you should ask, what is Boaz going to be?
Let's see.
Sleeping by the Goreh?
Let's see.
He's got a house. He's a wealthy man.
Let's see.
He's sleeping by the Goreh?
Boyaz moidatanu. Boyaz is a relative. Everybody knows that you are close to this house because of relation. In other words, if people see you in the field, they're not going to question what you're doing there. They're going to assume you came there just to see the winnowing, the threshing and the winnowing. You see your relative is raking it in. He's having a successful season. You're in the field. It's not a question of what you're doing in the field. And they're going to see you together with the other girls. They'll figure you're visiting your friends. They're going to figure you came to visit the girls. You haven't seen them since the end of the harvest. Right? That was the end of Parak Beis. She clung to the Narois Boyaz. Ad kalois katzir hasoim katzir achitim. V'hinehu zoyres goyren hasoim halayla. V'lachein v'yomru shalachein bas b'layla lirois es hazriya ve'es hana orais chavru secha. In other words, the words hinehu zoyres goyren hasoim halayla is an explanation for why people will not be suspicious of you. What are you doing in the field? Because Boaz is going to be winnowing that evening. But here's the plan. You ready? Yeah. Oh, you want to see Rashi over here? Why is he sleeping there? Shahaya Hadar Parot Begeneva. The generation was rampant in robbery. He was guarding the possession. Lamaisa, the Chassam Sofer says,
Old man, he's gaudy. It's like some of the security guys we have here.
no.
They're not going to prevent anybody from doing anything.
Rabbis have a lot of energy.
What?
Rabbis have a lot of energy. They look like they're nice. They could beat you up. If you don't mess with them. Rabbis have a lot of energy.
Yoda?
Anyway, but the Chassam Sofer Masechta Sukkah says that what's Boaz doing in the threshing floor? What's he doing in the field? He should be in the base medrash.
Okay.
So the Chassam Sofer says, would you wonder why Boaz puts on tefillin? Would you wonder why Boaz sits in Sukkah? He's working the land. Mitzvah Yishuv Eretz Yisrael. That's what Boaz is doing there. Okay, Pasuk Gimel. V'rachatz v'sacht v'samt Simloi sayech alayech v'yaradet hagoyren Al tivadi iloish ad kaloisoi lecha v'lishtois. Now, you look over here, all the words are Krieg Siv. It says v'samti Simloi sayech v'yarad ti hagoyren. In other words, it sounds like Naomi says, I will wash, I will don the clothing, and I will go down to the silo. Says Rashi what? Nothing. What does Rashi say? In other words, I'll be there with you. I'll be there with you in spirit. Says the Malbim. These clothing, well, Rashi says on the words, V'rachatz means wash yourself off from Avodah Zarah. Vasacht, perform mitzvahs. Sounds like this was somehow the completion of the Gerus. Besamt simloi sayech. This refers to Bigdei Shabbos. Now, where does she put these on? Says the Malbim. Besamt hasimlois shehem bigdei shabbos shekvar yarti parshas mishpatim. Says the Malbim. I've already explained. Sheshem smalois nivdal min beged lavash v'chadoima. The word simlois is different than the word beged or lavash, because those words shamar al begadim hayikarim shalshaz yom. Simlois refers to special clothing. Now, where should this hachana be? Where should you bathe? Where should you don your clothing? Hachana hazois tia kedei shetered hagoyran. This preparation needs to be so that you could go down into the silo. V'hinei loy pirish lamasa tovash. She's not telling her when to put on the clothing. Shezet tavin me'atzma. This she'll understand on her own. Umisichla, through her own seichel. Ve'ikrat tzivahu sha'achar shetisha sham ad gemar malachas hazriya. The main command here is that after she remains there until the end of the winnowing, eis yechalu ha'payel malachas lebeisam. When the workers begin to go to their house, ubayaz yeshev la'achon, Bayaz sits down to eat. Oz teireid b'hi chavel agar, and then stealthily sneak into the granary. In other words, at what point is she telling her, Al tivadi ish? Everyone's going to be hanging out in the field. When the work day is over, people are going to go home. Boaz is going to make his way into the silo, into the granary. At that point, nobody can know that you're there. The whole day, you could say hello to everyone. It's the point where you got to slip into the ground. When in other words, make believe you're going home and be hiding somewhere in secret. Don't reveal yourself until he's finished eating. When Naomi says put on your clothing, doesn't mean put them on. She says V'sam simloi sayich olayich v'sam simloi sayich. Doesn't mean to wear them. Put it on. In other words, put it on your shoulder. Shaz hayalei loimar v'lavash simloi sayich rak perishet tesimem al kisveich. Put it on your shoulder. V'yu itach. It should be with you. Lil boy shoysam b'goyren. Don't start farpitzing yourself in the Sadeh, all of a sudden everyone's going to see a young girl all dressed up. Well, what's going on? What's get done over here? You have the clothing on you in close proximity so that when you need to change into them, you could do so. If you're wearing Shabbos clothing in the granary, you need to wear your overalls in the granary. You don't wear a big day Shabbos. Okay. So here's the plan. When he goes to lie down, know the place that he lays. Uvas, and you should go, you should come. Vigilis margiloisav, uncover his legs. Vishachaft, and you will lay down. V'hu yagid lach, and he'll let you know is asher ta'asim, what you should do. Again, here it says what? Vishachavti.
The pasuk before says Al Tivadi La'ish.
Yeah.
And Rashi says for Boaz. What was bothering Rashi that she had to tell us that it's Boaz? Who else could it possibly be talking about? Now, Rashi will say that because you might have an idea that somebody else, after all of this, she's not looking for anybody else.
I guess it could have said, the Al Tivadi, don't make yourself known. La'ish implies the ish that we're talking about. V'shem ha'Ish Asher, like we had in Perek Beis, it's referring to the ish. Okay, Rabbi say here you have again V'shachavti. It's written V'shachavti. In other words, again, she's going to be with her. But this is one of the most difficult psukim in the whole Tanakh. What kind of advice is Naomi giving Rus to uncover the legs of Boaz and to lay down over there? We've in the past spoken out from the Al Shech HaKadosh that Naomi Rus was considered a Gilgal of the daughters of Lot, and this was somehow a reenactment of what the Benois Lot did to their father. But the Malbim explains this very beautifully, in a way where in fact nothing of impropriety took place over here. So what exactly was going on? We know the part of the process of Yibam is she removes the shoe of the Yavam. If he doesn't want to do Yibam, she removes his shoe. What's the significance of that? Well, that sounds like a very mysterious ritual where if he doesn't want to perform Yibam, she takes off his shoe? What's up with that? Well, the Malbim explains like this. When a person dies without children, their neshama is in unrest. The neshama has no respite. The neshama has no menucha. Not until their wife marries their brother and has a child, then somehow the neshama of the deceased is involved in that union between his wife and the brother and produces a child, and only then the neshama has respite. It's like the neshama is at unrest. Now, we've mentioned in the past the following analogy, that a body is merely the shoe of the neshama. Why is that? Because really most of the neshama is tachas kisei hakavod. And the neshama trickles down through all the olamos, through olam ha'at, habriya, yitzira, asiya, and the bottom part of the neshama is slipping into our guf. In other words, you want to know, where is my neshama? People say, it's here. No, wrong. It's there, it's upstairs. The neshama, right now, is upstairs. The lowest part of the neshama fits into the body like a body fits into a shoe. That is why whenever you are in a holy place, and you need to focus on the spirituality, Shal ne'alecha me'al raglecha, remove your shoes. Why? That's an analogy. Forget about the guf. Forget about the body. The body to the soul is like a shoe to a body. If a person does not want to do yibam, and he doesn't want to, so to speak, give respite to his brother, then it's like what we do is we take off his shoe. And we say, pal, you're not in touch with the procedure that's taking place. Let's see exactly how the Malbim explains this. Look at number Pasuk Dalet. Says the Malbim. Vayihi b'shachvai. Ratzaloimer. Ubayaz b'vadai lo yishkav b'sadeh. Boaz is not going to lay down in the field. Rak yishkav b'goyren. He's going to lay down in the silo. Shehu mukaf mechitzos. The silo is surrounded by walls. V'achar sha'atihi mestateres b'goyren. And when you're hiding in the silo, b'vadai tedes hamakam asher yishkav shel b'goyren. Certainly, you will know the place that he's laying. Uvas v'galis margeloisa v'shachaft. Rabbi, so listen carefully. This is mamish dvarim ha'imdim b'ruma shalom. Says the Malbim, Peirosh, ki heim boishu milatbaya es Boaz b'peh sheyisa oisai. They were ashamed to ask Boaz, you want to do us a favor and marry Rus? They were embarrassed to ask for that. So what did they do? What was Naomi's plan? Naomi's plan was to be merames to Boaz. Boaz, please do me a favor. Please, I ask you, please marry Rus. They're not going to ask b'feirush, but they're going to be merames. V'yatsa isa. They advise her shetisba zois mena aidei simanim, to be toivea him through signs. Keman de mechsi kimachog, like a pantomime. Shekvar b'yanu b'makam acher. We've already explained in other places. Listen to this. Mitama mekubalim, be'inyan hayibum v'chalitza sanal. We've said over, says the Malbim, in the name of the mekubalim, the concept of yibum and removing the shoe. Shehaguf hunal shel hanefesh. The shoe is the body, is the shoe. The body is the shoe of the soul. Shehaguf hunal shel hanefesh. The body is the shoe of the soul. She'i efshel neshama ruchnis lamed ba'olam hagufim. Can a soul exist in this physical world, nibli guf, without a body? In other words, the same way, you can't walk down the street without a pair of shoes. The feet, you're going to cut up your feet on the glass, you're going to dirty, you're going to soil your feet. So too, the neshama can't come down in this world. This world is so physical, it needs the agent, it needs the medium of the body. A dainty, fastidious person cannot walk through the city street in the garbage, below now without shoes, so he doesn't get his feet dirty. Amar Hashem. This is the secret that God said, Shal na'alecha me'al raglecha. Remove your shoe from your foot. Very interesting. Again, the body to the soul is like the shoe to the body. The same way, you can't walk around without protection to your feet. The soul cannot exist in this physical world without the medium of the body. If someone dies without children, his soul is in a storm. His soul has no respite. Now listen to this. When a man dies, the soul is banging around in his wife. You hacked her a chinik when you're alive, continue to hack her a chinik afterwards. Now why are you hacking her a china? She didn't produce for you. Now the name going to go lost. Kishiyah. No, it's always your fault, but you've always blamed it on her. So why things don't change, right? Kishiyave Maisa. When you so in other words, the husband's soul is sort of stirring inside the wife because his name is being wiped out. Kishayibem Oisa Achiv. Now when the brother is meyabem her v'yitin zera la'achiv, and he gives seed to his brother, hu ki'ilu nefesh hameis ba shenis la'olam. The product of the union of Yibam is the deceased. When the deceased's wife marries his brother, until then his soul is on unrest. And then when his wife marries the brother and they have a child, that child is the deceased. He comes back again. When somebody dies without children and the brother marries his wife, he returns to this world as the product of the union of Yibam. Ki hanoilad hu atzmai ha'achamis. That means v'yikarei al shmoi, and that's why the mitzvah is to call him by that name. V'hu yakum tachtav l'nachala. He inherits The deceased, you know why? It's not inheritance. I'm just taking back what's mine. Ukamash Shekasad, Yivoled ben Lenomi. Wow. When Boaz and Rus had a child, what was the child's name? Oived. Oived, when Oived was born, what they say? Oh, Nomi had a child. Nomi had a child. It's a grandchild. No, this is Machlin again. Machlin had come back.
Why did they name him Machlin?
Why didn't they name him Machlin? Let's see what they name him. Hopefully we'll get up to there. I'm not sure how, but somehow we'll get. Ki Oived ben Boaz haya ba'atzmai Machlin ben Nomi. Oived ben Boaz was Machlin ben Nomi. And now, what does Machlin have? It used to be his soul was stirring around. Machlin's soul was stirring around. He had no body to go into. And when Machlon is, when Oived was born, Machlon has a guf, or the analogy would be a shoe. So when you don't want to do yibum, we take off your shoe. We say you don't want to give your brother a shoe. That's the metaphor. But yesh lenefesh hameis now. Then the deceased, then the soul of the mace has a shoe. Ratzalemer guf. A body, that he could exist again in the physical world. If he doesn't want to do yibum, the soul of the deceased remains without a body, without a shoe. He can never come back to this world. This is alluded by removing his shoe. The Yikra Shemai B'Yisrael Beis Chalutz Hanal. Someone who doesn't want to do yibum, we call him the one whose shoe was removed. In other words, he's removing his brother's shoe. He doesn't want to give his brother another shot.
What if the woman doesn't want to do yibum with the man?
She doesn't have that choice. Yibum is Bal Karchach.
We don't do it today.
We don't do yibum. Because he removed the shoe of his brother. His soul is removed of shoe. So listen to this. As far as I know, the Malbim is the only one who says this. What Rus is doing to Boaz, she's uncovering his leg. She's saying, you want to put a shoe on your brother or not? She's uncovering his legs. She's saying, your brother, his legs are uncovered now. His legs have no shoe. Would you like to offer him a shoe? That's a way of alluding to Boaz, would you like to do yibum? They were embarrassed. He would be the logical choice, but to go over to him and say, B'pemole, you want to do yibum, they were ashamed to do that. This was like the message.
Well, wasn't there someone else in line ahead of him?
We're going to get to that. Yes.
So why, if they're going to ask someone, they really should have asked the other person first? Or why would they even try to do this? And if you want to follow halacha, they had to get a rejection from the first before they would have set up this whole scenario in order to...
Apparently, Naomi had a hunch of that...
You're allowed to do that with a hunch? I mean...
Again, there's no isser. If he would chap and do it before the older one... the older one gets first cracks. And again, this is not typical Yibam here, because Boaz, again, Machlon and Boaz were first cousins. Right? Boaz's father, Salmon, and Elimelech were brothers. Right? So it wasn't real Yibam, it was sort of the spirit of Yibam, so that to give respite to the neshama of Machlon. So he says like this. This is the allusion to Boaz. And that which she uncovered his legs and she lay down. She alluded to him. Since you're the Redeemer. Either keep your leg uncovered without a shoe. Either you're going to be called the one without the shoe. Because we call somebody who doesn't want to do yibum beis cholatz hanal. In other words, she uncovered his leg. Do you want to be called the beis cholatz hanal? Oy tigala raglecha, oy she'eshkav b'tzidcha, or have relations lahakim lekroivcha shem b'Yisra, to establish to your relative a name. Va'az techasa raglecha b'nal, and then you will cover your legs with a shoe. And Naomi told Rus, you don't have to worry, he'll let you know what he plans on doing. He said, "V'hu yagid lach esa shartas and dahainu oishi yitzava oisach litvaya goyla karvi." So either he'll command you to make an offer to the closer relative, oishahu yadaber mago, or he will himself. But this is really an astounding understanding of the concept of yibam that the Mekubalim teach us that if a person passes away without children, their soul is in unrest in their wife until the brother lives with the wife and produces a child, and then the person comes back again. But if the brother doesn't want to do that, it's like he doesn't want to give shoe to the brother, because right now the brother's soul is in unrest, and he needs a body to go into. That's why the process of yibam is to remove the shoe, and that is why if the brother does not want to do yibam, he's called beis cholotzana. Pasuk Hey. What is Rus's reaction? Va'toimer elai, she says to her, Kol asher toimri elai e'eseh. Whatever you tell me, I will do. Whatever you tell me, I will do. Says the Malbim, va'toimer elai. Leneged mashukasav, corresponding to what she said. V'hu yagid is asher ta'asin, he'll let you know what to do. Amra. She said like this. What she meant was not just I'm going to listen to you. Even when Bayaz tells me what to do, I will not do anything without asking you first. Pasuk Vav.
Rabbi, there's Eli is a Kri with Luksiv. It's not you say it, but it's not written in.
Yeah.
What's the significance of that?
Here's an very unusual thing, right? You read a word.
Right, you read a word that's not written. I've never noticed that before. Actually, I mean, the word in the pasuk is redundant.
The Mincha Shai says like this. The Mincha Shai brings down the Medrash and Rus Rabbah. Elai Kri v'leksiv. Amrullah, she said, Shema Yava Yachem and HaKlavim. V'yizdavigli, maybe one of the dogs will come. In other words, one of the riffraff, and live with me. V'yafal pikein olai liyashiv hadvarim. V'yafal pikein. Kol asher toimru elai. In other words, whatever happens to me. Look at Pasuk, let's see Pasuk Vav. Interestingly, the advice of Nami was V'rachat v'sach v'sam simloi sayich alayich v'yarati hagoyren al tivadi la'ish. The way the Malbim learned that is, she wasn't necessarily saying to take a bath and to wash herself and to get herself all made up before she goes to the field, because that's going to look a little suspicious. But Rashi takes it very literally. Look in Pasuk Vav, and we'll see Rashi learns this a little differently. Pasuk Vav. V'ateret hagarin, she goes down to the silo. V'atas, and she does k'chol asher tzivata chamoisa, everything her mother-in-law commanded her. Says Rashi, He amrala, she said to her, V'rachatz v'sacht v'samsim le'sayich alayich v'achar kach v'yaradet hagarin. She said, wash yourself, anoint yourself, put your clothing on, and then go down to the Gairan. She didn't listen completely. If I go down all made up, then anyone who meets me, anyone who sees me, she first went to the silo, and then she made herself up secretly in the silo. So there's one nakuda that she didn't quite listen to her mother-in-law. So the Medrash Lekach Tov, quoted by the Mincha Shai, says, Kol asher toimri e'eseh. Everything you say to me, I will do. But it's also Kri, Kol asher toimri elai. What does this mean? It's Lashon Bitmiyah. You think I'm going to listen to everything you say to me? Lo yasakein. I'm going to do hatoy v'hayosh ben elkim v'yadam. That's what she did. Maybe there's
a hara here. Also, it says that Tomer ela kol shel Tomer. Pasuk has to use the lashon of Tomer.
Yeah.
And Pasuk zayin kol shel tzivata. Maybe there were certain things that Naomi told her you absolutely must do this, and then the other things she gave her like a little leeway. So here she took the leeway. She figured out she better not do it exactly.
Right.
Right? Because she thought it would work out better the way you just described it.
So the way he's reading the pasuk is, she went down and she did her own thing, and once she did her own thing, then v'ataskacha asher tzivatacha moisa. See the Malbim pasuk vav bater ratzayim achar shegamru kulam es malachim. When everyone finished their work, v'holchu lebeisim, they went to their house. His ganva b'seiser al hagoyren. When everyone went home, she snuck into the goyren. V'atas, and she did ratzayim v'sham b'goyren asasa kol asher tzivatacha moisa lasuch v'lo boish b'gdei Shabbos. Vayoichal boyaz vayesh vayitav liboy vayavoy lishkav v'ksehu arema vatavoy valot vatigal margeloisa vatishkav. Boyaz ate and he drank and his heart was good and he came to lay at the edge of the bundles. We'll see why. And she came stealthily, and she uncovered his legs, and she lay down.
By the way, it's Tavo Balot. She was the Gilgal of one of Lot's daughters.
Yes. Yeah, the Al-Shech HaKadosh, makes mention of that. Vatavai Balot.
How does a step?
What? Stealthily, secretly, undercover.
You can't see them on the radar.
Vayoichal. Pasuk Zayin in the Malbim, and he set his bed, balot. Pasuk Ches, Vayihi bachatzi halayla, vayecharat hoish, vayilafeis, v'hinei isha shoicheves margeloisav. By the way, the Medrash says, David HaMelech said, Chatzois laila okum loch, Chatzois laila akum lahoidos l'cha mishpatei tzidkecha. Parakuf Yotes. David HaMelech woke up to thank Hashem at midnight every night. You know why? Because David HaMelech says, "Thank you, Hashem, that you protected my grandmother Rus at that midnight." Because imagine if a young girl found herself, and the Gadol Hadar woke up, and he would say, "Get out of here!" and he would curse her, and she would drop dead. And Boaz didn't do that to Rus. Says David, every night of his life he woke up b'chatzi halayla to thank Hashem for the nest that Boaz did not curse Rus. So,
Rabbi, but I have a question about. I think you said it was the Malbim that explained that the reason he was in the Goren to start with, he was afraid of the.
Yeah, the Rashi says that, right?
Rashi, right? He drank. Here he is. If he's the security guard, he's drinking. It's totally diet, and he falls asleep. He could have had a bunch of his henchmen.
Well, in those days, I don't think they didn't drink too much water. That wine was the drink. Lamaisa, if you look at the end of the Mishnah Brura and the final Chelek, do they have Mishnah Bruras in this wonderful library? I think he brings down a drasha. Vayoichal vayesh means he learned. Vayitav liba is b'divrei Torah. And Vayavoy Lishkav B'Ksei Harema. Is there a Mishnah Berurah Chelek Vav here?
There's nothing over there.
Check behind you. Okay. The Mishnah Berurah, the very end of, in the Shari Tshuva. Here he brings it down. Rashi himself. Vayitav liboy. Asak b'Torah. Rashi says asak b'Torah. Interestingly, when the Hagoin, Rav Pinchas Friedman came to our shul on Sunday, one of the things he said over is, it's very strange that we make a bracha every day. Shalai asani gai. Why do I have to make a bracha today, Shalai asani gai? I wasn't a guy yesterday, so I'm covered. Like, well, I'm gonna be a guy today.
Strange things have happened.
The answer is that if you go to sleep like a guy, then you wake up with the neshama of a guy. You lose your neshama Yisrael. So if you go to sleep looking at the wrong images and the wrong things, then in the morning you got to get back to the neshama. You have to get a neshama Yisrael again.
You said Geshma Amita.
Yeah, but it's not going to help if you have. You could say the whole Tehillim if you're watching things on the screen. You could say Tehillim and learn the Gan Shas. It's not going to help you. So every morning you have to thank Hashem. Shalai Asani Goy. So Pshat is over here. Bayaz goes to sleep the right way. Vayitav liboy, right? Sha'asa guitar. So look at this pasuk. Vayi b'chatzi it was midnight. Vayecharat ho'ish. Vayila face. The man trembled. Vayila face. What does the word vayila face mean? The Targum says v'israkich. He became soft, kelifta, like a lefes. What is that? A turnip. V'hine yisha shoicheves margaloisav. How did he know? Rashi says, Nasan yadei al roisha. He put his hand on her head. She realized this is not what he thought.
By the way, the pasuk doesn't tell us that she took off his shoes, right?
No, she uncovered his feet. She uncovered his feet.
Or you mean he wasn't wearing his shoes, just took the blanket off.
So here it is at midnight, and she uncovers his feet, and he wakes up, and he's frightened, and the Medrash says really he should have cursed her, and she would have died. And he didn't. Says the Malbim. One more. Vayomer, he said, Miat, who are you? Rashi says the reason why he was frightened, he thought she was a shade, and he wanted to cry out, and she grabbed him with her arms. So the shaila is, first of all, how is she allowed to do that? If she's women are b'cheskas nida, and the halacha is if a man or woman makes contact with another gender and they're a nida, it's yiharig ve'al yavar. Anything which is a derech chiba is the yiharig ve'al yavar. Probably when Nami told Rus v'rachatz v'sacht, what kind of cleansing is this referring? She went to the mikvah. Still doesn't answer completely, but at least the Isser Chamura, maybe. He says to her, who are you? Vatoymer, she says, Anoichi Rus Amasecha, I am Rus, your maidservant. Maidservant? She's not his maidservant, she's not his cleaning lady. Ufarasta chinafecha ala moscha. Spread your wings on your maidservant. Ki goyal ata. What do you mean your wings? Boaz did not have wings. That I could guarantee you. Boaz did not have wings.
Protection.
What does this refer to?
Protects its young.
Well, Rashi says the corner of your garment, your talis. It's a lashon nisuin. Says the Malbim, very interestingly. Says the Malbim, pasuk tes, v'atomer anochi rus amasech, rotzolomer, bal tachshav zois lepritzos. Don't think this is promiscuous. Imnekeva to soiv gever. Usually the man goes after the woman, and here the opposite. No. Kiani amasecha. I'm your maidservant. This is not just a figure of speech. I'm your shivcha. What she was saying was, we know if a man has an amma of riyah, a shivcha, he has to do yir. He has to marry her. So she was saying, I'm your shivcha. There's a relationship of mitzvah that can take place over here. She wasn't just humbly saying, I'm your cleaning lady. Shekamosh yesh kesher bein ha'ama of riyah vein ha'adon shemachuiv liyada kain yesh kesher beini uveinecha mitzvah mitzvah zibam kain uvarasta kinafecha ala masecha he melitza. What's the analogy of the wing? This is a a metaphor. Nilkacha min ha'oifais, borrowed from birds. Sheparsim kanfeim al bnei zugam is hazivuk. That when they mate, they spread their wings one on the other. That's what she was saying. But there's a deeper meaning. V'gam ramza she'ein zabiyah shaloi k'mitzvahs ha'torah. This relation is not in a violation of the Torah. Why? Shekanfei habeged sheyesh bahem tzitzis. We know normally what protects a person from illicit relations. Which mitzvah specifically protects a person from illicit relations? Tzitzis, like the Gemara says the Sifri says at the end of Shlach about the Zoina that somebody went to and he was sort of smacked in the face by his tzitzis and that protected him. So what Rus was saying to Boaz is, show the tzitzis! It's not going to stop it. You know why? Because we're not dealing with a Dvar Aveira here. This is a Dvar Mitzvah, and the tzitzis could be right here, and it will not impede in any way. That's the meaning of Ufarasa Knafecha. Even if the tzitzis are begoloi, this will not interfere. Like it did Bezoiner Shoysa Bekrach Ayam Shoysa Netel's Dad Meya Zuzi Beschara. There was a professional harlot, she took 400 zuz. Ki behepach, bebiyazu tifrois alai kanfei begdecha. With this bia, you could spread out the tzitzis. Ki bia mitzvah. Ki goyalata. Vayomer. He said like this. He doesn't curse her. He says, Barucha at Lashabiti. Blessed are you to God, my daughter. Heitaft chastecha achrein min harishain. Your final kindness is greater than your first. Levilti leches acharei habachurim. Not to go after the young men, imdal v'yamasher, whether they're poor or wealthy. Says the Malbim, what does it mean, blessed are you, your final kindness is greater than your first? Vayomer Barucha at Lashem. Kira. He saw shekavanos l'shem shamayim. His intention was l'shem shamayim. Heitaft chazdech ha'achar min harishan. Ratza loymar hachesed harishan shasisem balech ve'eshanas ha'isach. The first kindness you did to your husband, that you married him, that showed good character. You could have married any guy in the world. You wanted to attach yourself to the Jewish religion. Shebacharta lekachas ish mizar Yisrael. But nevertheless, that wasn't so great because maybe he was a good-looking guy. And it wasn't completely l'shem shamayim. Oz b'charta al kaban b'bachar. He was a young man. You liked his handsomeness. But the second chesed that you're doing, that now that your husband is dead and you want to give menucha to his soul, and you're marrying an old guy like me. I don't have the good looks that your husband did when he was a young man. You're agreeing to marry an old man. Than going after the young boys. You would have been better off marrying a poor young guy than marrying a rich guy like me. I'm on my last leg, and in fact, after the Bia Rishona, that was the end of him. And you could have the best of both worlds. You can marry a young guy who has money. Certainly a young man would have taken you for your beauty. And instead you choose an old man in order to preserve the name of your husband. This is a great kindness. Greater than marrying your husband is the fact that you want to perpetuate his memory. Rabbi say, let's hold it over here. And I wish everyone an amazing day.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.